Welcome, welcome, welcome into the space. My intention in this reading is to retrieve, collect, and deliver a message that I have a feeling has been circling, and that is arising, and that wants to be expressed. And I've been feeling it kind of knocking at the door of my consciousness, feeling these waves of like ringing in my ears, and and it's kind of funny how energy works, right? Because it can be so subtle, but then some sort of subtle things start to line up. And then you do a little bit of digging and things start to connect and coalesce in really interesting ways. But I don't have much of an expectation for this reading or where it's going to go or if it's who it's going to connect with. But I trust that if you're here, there is a message for you, and it feels connected to living from your heart and living from truth. And the energy seems connected, although I am hesitant to put names or labels on it because that automatically kind of constricts the energy and where it's going to go, because it's kind of becomes tainted by some layer of expectation. Like, especially I find that when we work with the angelic or ascended masters, there's so much human projection and story and characterization and personification onto these huge, wow. A hawk circling over my head. Holy crap. These huge, larger than life energies, beings. For example, like when we think about, if I say like Mother Mary, you have so many, there's already associations that start to pop off, and they can be helpful in kind of illuminating kind of a pathway forward that allows us to kind of dive into exploring or unveiling more layers of our inner gnosis. That sometimes involves like external research and learnings and finding teachers, but they all kind of can act as layers that kind of interfere with, I'm seeing like a ray of light coming through right now, that interfere with a pure state of reception that allows us to have an embodied personal relationship with these energies and to receive the unique ways that they want to move and express in us. And that not as like a monolithic big entity, but they actually have different voices and different expressions as they move through all of us, as we add our unique energies and the archetypes and the medicine that we come through to their message. So that felt important to say for some reason. But so if I say the names and it triggers some sort of association in you, note that too, and that's also part of the reading. And so it feels like the Ascended Master, Archangel Michael, as the Watcher of the East, associated with the fixed star Aldebaran, which is a fixed star, a royal star located in Gemini. And it kind of feels like ever since Uranus ingressed into that sign on, I want to say it was the 7th of July, this energy of the Watcher of the East, as well as the emerald ray in the heart, seems to be really ignited. So calling us into this space, allowing me to stay rooted in my own energy as I deliver whatever message is wanting to come forth, trusting that whomever is receiving it does so with an open heart, and that whatever message is here for them to assist them in their own remembrance, their own reclamation, and their own inner gnosis be here now. Thank you to the Watcher of the East. Thank you for all of the protection and the illumination and the clarity that you bring. Thank you for the open heart and the sword of truth. May we collect whatever message is here for us now. What are we ready to pick up, to reclaim, and to co-create with this Watcher of the East? The Ace of Pentacles, wow. We're invited to build something new here, and it feels really exciting. It feels like It feels like building something that there aren't currently maps for, there isn't currently architecture for. It's like the form is so exquisite and it's changing in some capacity what we're being invited to build. Supported by the Eight of Wands. It feels like a fully, the word F might be significant. Like there's a fresh, flowing, it's kind of like a popping, fizzy quality. The energy is kind of like rushing like a clear river, rushing like a clear channel. And it's giving us insights, visions. We're receiving visions about what we'd like to build and what we'd like to create here on earth and in our own lives. I'm curious too, my eye is really drawn in this image to the archway that's kind of marking this path from the garden to the mountain. And it feels like the message is, whoever is connecting with this message, that this has been an intentional cultivation period, a time of withdrawal in some capacity, even as we're being very present in our lives. In this hermit year, it's been kind of a time of retreat into the inner garden, and the garden as the garden of gnosis, where knowledge is, where knowledge that might be vilified, that might be seen as not important, that might be seen as a distraction. But the message is no, that knowledge, that gnosis is embodied and it's true and it's important. And this has been a period of intentional cultivation of something that's very, very precious and that maybe has yet to bear fruit in your life. Maybe there's not a lot of external evidence for this thing yet, but it's been a very intentional period of gestation. And now, this Eight of Wands, these winds of change, these powerful, with the Eight of Wands, there's no human figures in this deck. It's purely like the winds of divine inspiration coming in and pushing us somewhere new. And sometimes when our expectations about how things should be kind of come up, we can resist it. And we can think, wait, that's not the timeline I had in mind. Like this expectation that something needs to fit. But we're kind of pushed out of this garden space and through this threshold initiation moment to the mountain beyond, the mountain where we meet ourselves, the hero and the heroine's journey of where we actualize some long dormant part of ourself that has been up until now sleeping. And this kind of feeling of, for some, apathy, because as all of these, when we resist the call of destiny, and up until now I have really in myself resisted those kind of terms about like fate and destiny, because I always thought that it was kind of constraining in some capacity. But part of this message feels like part of seeing yourself as a beloved creature of the cosmos is understanding that there are super human forces, God forces, nature, love that are moving in ways that I can't pretend to understand. And that when we kind of feel some sort of level of dissatisfaction with what we have or what we've built, it's not as punishment, but it's to show us what is possible. Spirit, the Watcher of the East, what is wanting to be born through this sacred threshold? What is wanting to be born from the sacred East? The high up ones who are watching us as we become who we really are. Just confirmation that you don't need to know. That when you don't know, that's actually the truest thing that you can know, is that you don't know. Because when you don't know, you know that you're in territory where you've never been before, and that means you're going somewhere to learn something that you've never known. And then to repeat the whole cycle of being unknown, unsure, being in the unknown. Because when we don't know, we leave. We leave the garden and we leave the constraints of what we thought we knew. And we say, I wonder what's beyond this threshold, what's beyond this fence this artificial barrier, even if it's a beautiful barrier, because in this image it looks like one of those archways that marks like a marriage point, like a beautiful, but it's still a barrier. It's still demarking, this is the garden and this is the mountain, rather than just this is all an expansive space, a space to explore who we really are, a space to roam and to simply be. What do we learn on the inner mountain? So we leave the garden. Wow. It feels like there's a big collective movement around, I thought I knew what I wanted. And it was this close. It was this close. But some bigger force, again, this hawk energy is circling and is like, reach a little bit farther. Like, what if you think just a little bit bigger? Like, what if this could be even better than you could possibly imagine? Bottom of the deck, the Ten of Swords. A time of great endings. A time of great endings. And it feels like the ending is around the story that we are alone. And the story that we alone, we humans, are the source of everything that's great. And it feels like this next step of human evolution is a morphing of the ego, and so that it kind of becomes something that it's never been before, and a kind of a way that we learn how to be in deep relationship with the more than human forces that surround us in nature, in the cosmos, divine energies that want to collaborate with us to help us create something that we've never created before. And again, this isn't like a human trotting up on a horse and giving us some sort of solution, but it's, again, I'm so drawn to this card and how there's no humans in it. This card can bring up so much when we reflect upon it. It's pure movement of energy. There's not necessarily a conduit. There's not necessarily a force receiving it. But the more that we can kind of be in these expanded and receptive states at this time, just receiving and noticing as the emotions come up, as the thoughts come up, receiving and noticing and practicing more and more, resisting less and less, removing those stories about how things should be, and being willing to step beyond the bounds of what we knew. Because in this reading, I've been thinking about doing it for a little while, and I was like, this could be really jumping off the loony end of the pool. Like, who are you to connect with an archangel, and who are you? And we have all of these ideas about what it looks like to connect with the divine. And this card removes all of those preconceived notions, all of those expectations and ideas about what it looks like to receive inspiration. And it says, no, inspiration is breath moving through you. It is aliveness, and there is no constraint around it. And then us humans, we put constraints on it and we name it things. But if we are more and more cultivating this inner state of allowing whatever we thought was real to really dissolve, the only way that that's unsettling or scary is if we have layers of resistance up into it. What do we know if we don't know? The message here is to trust your heart and to trust what you feel. And this feels like a really important next wave of humanity, is that we're learning to prioritize our intuition and the non-logical streams of information, cosmic intelligence that are flowing through us, and to not immediately discount them. It's like the architecture of the human mind is shifting. And on one level, people kind of talk about that with, you know, like the enormous amount of technology and the ways that like our attention span apparently is going down the toilet and all of these, there's all these narratives, and maybe that's true, but there's a layer underneath it of like the human mind. There's a layer of this, maybe it's beginning at the metaphysical level and then will eventually be actualized in the actual brain, who knows, I don't know. But there's a message, again, I don't know, that keeps coming through of, what do you not know? You don't know when it's the mind talking, when it's the ego driving the ship, but when it's your heart speaking to you, when it's an intuitive knowing, when we connect to those feelings and we allow ourselves to act on them and live from that place, a new earth is possible. And all of these things kind of sound like nice ideas, but it feels like more than ever before, they're real and they're wanting to be lived. What is the Watcher of the East? The Emerald Ray of Archangel Michael inviting it. Allowing, turning towards the heart is a turning towards pain in many ways. Likewise, turning towards the heart is turning towards love. And so in order to live from the heart, we need to be with the heart and all of the pain that has accumulated in the heart. And part of the way that this energy of the Watcher of the East, this midwifing, very, very loving masculine creation energy is feeling so close at this time, is that our hearts are being reordered. We are opening ourselves up to receive forms of information as manifestations of love that we've maybe never reached before. And that's pretty vulnerable. It's pretty vulnerable. Oh my God. The Tower, and there was so many of us, including myself, I'm sure, are resisting this change because we are so quick as humans to reassert structures of what we know onto steps into the unknown. And the Watcher of the East wants us to know that it is safe to step into the unknown. The sun steps into the unknown every day. It's called the sunrise. It's called the initiation of a new day. And that we can have fear and uncertainty and what ifs and all of the mind stories come up. But the important thing is to step. The important thing is to trust that when we jump, there is a force that will catch us. And that when we resist change, we resist life, we resist ourselves, we resist love. And becoming who we are is a process of removing that. It's waking up to the reality that we've never been alone. That we've never been alone. Wow. And a lot of our kind of societal conditioning feels like, and this, I don't mean to say this in like a conspiracy theory kind of way, but it's been really targeted towards making you feel that you are alone and that your only sources of connection are other people who are also wounded and also feel alone. And a new way of relating on Earth is wanting to emerge where all of us know that we are never alone and that all of us feel continually held and protected and cared for by the divine. And then what kind of relationship, what kind of co-creation, what kind of partnership gets to happen on Earth when we know that we're not alone, and then we're not connecting from a place of trying to get the need met of not being alone, but that relating is a joyful exchange where all of us know that we're not alone, and then what we get to create gets to be just more beauty. Taking off the blindfolds. Again, this sacred clarity, this stream of like sword light of the Archangel Michael is, can you see what is true? Can you see what is true? And it might be true that one level of your being feels afraid, and it might be true that one layer of your being is bigger than that fear, and is still willing to step beyond it and to every day put one foot in front of the other and to begin again. begin again. Is there any other message? Wow. Wow. Okay, a message from the waters, interestingly, is really coming through. It's important how we relate to water. Implementing practices in your daily life where we're praying over water, where we're blessing water. If there's a stream or an ocean or a river or a lake near your house, going to that body of water, blessing it. Water holds memory, water is life, water is the great mother. And that when we tend to these streams, the spiritual stream within, it feeds us in return. It feeds us in return. Final message from the Watcher of the East. So many of us have the feeling that we're so close to something. We're so close to something, but our head's down because we're still in the process of actively kind of wrestling with it. But if we were to lift our gaze, we would see that we were so incredibly close to a breakthrough, a new way of seeing. We were so incredibly close. And close is always accessed in the moment. Every moment as an opportunity to release more and more of the barriers that we have up, the stories, the personas, and to be open to this new level of relating, what's wanting to be born. I feel like this message is maybe spiraling and might come up again for another reading, but for now, I'm going to say goodbye. Lots of love to you.